7 months after a devastating knee injury brought his momentum to a halt, Cameron Hanekom is finally edging closer to a return. But patience remains the watchword. The 23-year-old loose forward has not featured since last June, when he was injured during the United Rugby Championship (URC) semi-final victory over the Sharks. At the time, Hanekom was one of the most exciting young forwards in South African rugby, fresh off his Springboks debut and pushing hard to cement a long-term place in the national setup. Now, as the business end of the season approaches, Bulls head coach Johan Ackermann has offered the clearest indication yet of when supporters might see the dynamic back rower back in action. A setback at the worst possible moment. Hanekom's injury came at a cruel time. Having earned his first test cap for the South African national rugby union team against Wales in November 2024, the young forward was widely tipped to become a regular feature in Rassie Erasmus' evolving squad. His debut was more than symbolic. It signaled that he was firmly in the Springboks' long-term plans. A mobile, abrasive loose forward with the breakdown instincts and physical edge that had become hallmarks of South African rugby. But just months later, his progress stalled abruptly in the URC semi-final win over the Sharks. Hanekom suffered what has since been described as a freak knee injury. The damage was severe enough to rule him out of the remainder of 2024 and, ultimately, the entire 2025 international season. Originally, the expectation was that he would return around December. Yet, as March arrives, he remains sidelined. At Ackermann's latest update speaking ahead of the Bulls' upcoming URC clash with the Sharks, Ackermann struck a careful balance between optimism and caution. "I was nervous to put a timeline to it," he admitted. "But I think we will probably work towards Cardiff or Munster to see Cameron somewhere around that period. That's the earliest, I think." Those fixtures against Cardiff and Munster at Loftus-Versfeld now appear to be the most realistic targets for Hanekom's comeback. Ackermann explained that the rehabilitation process has not been entirely straightforward. His rehab has obviously been up and down. The last couple of weeks have really gone well. Now it's just to build up his endurance, build up his contact, and the rugby side of things. That's the part we don't want to rush now, so close to the finish line. That final sentence encapsulates the Bulls' approach. After months of recovery work, the temptation to accelerate the final stages is strong, especially with a congested run-in looming. But Ackermann is determined not to jeopardize Hanekom's long-term future for short-term gain. That alignment camp complication. Interestingly, despite not yet returning to competitive action, Hanekom has been invited to attend the Springboks alignment camp. This inclusion speaks volumes about how highly he is regarded within the national setup. Even without recent match minutes, Erasmus and his staff clearly view him as a key component of their future plans. However, the timing creates logistical challenges for the Bulls. Ackermann acknowledged that the upcoming alignment camp effectively removes a crucial week of club-based preparation. Next week is not ideal. It's a rugby week that we lose with the guys going to the alignment camp, and they're not in our hands. The week after that is probably the week that we must progress the build-up to rugby contact. In practical terms, that means Hanekom is set to miss at least one more Bulls fixture before serious contact training resumes. Cardiff, therefore, remains the earliest feasible return date, and even that depends on how his body responds to the next phase of rehabilitation. A timely boost for the Bulls if Hanekom does return around the Cardiff or Munster fixtures. The timing would be significant. The Bulls face back-to-back home matches before heading north in April for clashes against Glasgow Warriors, Dragons, and Scarlets. That stretch could define their URC campaign. Despite not playing a single game this season, Hanekom's presence at full fitness would immediately strengthen the Bulls' back row depth. He offers versatility across the loose trio, with the ability to carry powerfully, compete fiercely at the breakdown, and contribute defensively in wider channels. His athletic profile fits the modern template for elite loose forwards, mobile enough to operate in space, yet physical enough to withstand the attritional demands of Northern Hemisphere rugby. For a side pushing toward the playoffs, reintegrating a player of his caliber could prove decisive. The injury. A freak moment. Hanekom himself has reflected on the incident that derailed his season, describing it as a freak accident. In an interview with Kickoff magazine, he recounted the sequence of Events in vivid detail. I saw that Vincent Shituka was tackled, and I saw an opportunity to steal the ball and give my side an advantage, he explained. Then came the collision. Sia came in and cleaned me out. My left heel got stuck in the ground, and the tension was too much. This Sia in question was Sia Khaleesi, Springboks captain and one of the most formidable breakdown operators in the game. Hanekom described how the normal mechanics of a tackle breakdown, falling backward and placing the ball, failed in that instant. My friend Jeff told me it sounded like a gunshot. I couldn't hear it because I was too busy screaming from the pain. The imagery is stark. A routine breakdown contest, a split second of misfortune, and months of rehabilitation followed. The bigger picture. Springboks' ambitions beyond the Bulls' domestic ambitions lies the broader international context. Erasmus has been methodically preparing for the next cycle of international competition, blending established World Cup winners with emerging talent that Hanekom's profile aligns perfectly with that strategy. At 23, he combines youth with early exposure to the Springboks environment. His single test cap may not yet reflect his potential impact, but his inclusion in the alignment camp signals long-term intent. South Africa's loose forward depth remains formidable, yet generational transitions are inevitable. Injuries, retirements, and workload management will open opportunities. A fully fit Hanekom could quickly move from fringe squad member to regular contributor. However, that pathway depends on careful management. Now, patience over pressure, the temptation to fast-track his return is understandable. The Bulls are entering a crucial phase of their campaign. The Springboks are planning for an intense international season. Hanekom himself will be eager to reclaim lost ground, but knee injuries are unforgiving if mishandled. The final stages of rehabilitation, rebuilding endurance, reintroducing contact, restoring confidence under load, are often the most delicate. That Ackermann's caution suggests lessons have been learned from previous injury mismanagement across the sport. Modern professional rugby demands long-term thinking, especially with young players. The phrase "so close to the finish line" captures the delicate balance. Push too hard, and months of progress could unravel. Proceed methodically, and the reward is a fully restored athlete ready to perform at the highest level. Looking ahead, all signs now point toward a potential return in the coming weeks, possibly against Cardiff or Munster at Loftus Versfeld. If that timeline holds, Hanekom will have valuable match minutes before the Springboks' international calendar intensifies. That window could be critical, not just physically, but psychologically. After 7 months away, rediscovering rhythm, timing, and instinct under live match conditions takes time. Yet those who have tracked his rise believe he possesses the temperament to handle the challenge. His inclusion in the alignment camp despite inactivity underscores the faith placed in him. His coach's cautious optimism suggests steady progress, and his own recollection of the injury reveals resilience rather than frustration. For now, the focus remains on controlled progression. But if rehabilitation continues on its current trajectory, South African rugby supporters may soon witness the return of one of their most promising young forwards, refreshed, refocused, and ready to resume a career that was momentarily paused, not derailed. The countdown to Cameron Hankom's comeback has begun.